Hello, today we're looking at solving inequalities. All right, so let's have a look at what we're asked to do. Solve the following inequalities. So first one, x squared plus 4x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. All right, let's pick a color. Let's begin. So what does it mean to solve an inequality? This means we're looking for values of x such that this inequality holds all the values of x, such that when we take x squared plus 4x plus 3, it gives us a value that's greater than or equal to 0. So we can't have any negative values. Okay, so how can we do this? Let's put it down here. So let's rewrite it. So how I like to do these is I like to start by pretending it equals 0. Let's start with that. So that I can do. So that I know if I factor, I can figure out the x values that satisfy this equation. So let's factor x squared plus 4x plus 3. Well, we know this is a quadratic, so we'll have two factors. So 3 factors is 3 and 1. We put plus signs in there. We're going to get the cross term, which is our 4x. So this is our factorization. So we have x plus 3 times x plus 1 equals 0. So when does this equal 0? When x equals negative 3 or when x equals negative 1? Negative 1. Okay, so that takes care of the equal 0 part, but we need greater than. So this is when I consider, running out of space, a number line. So let's divide this number line up. So where are we going to divide it up? At the negative 3 and the negative, let's give ourselves a bit more space, and the negative 1. So we're going to consider all the x values greater than or equal to negative 1, x values between negative 3 and negative 1, and the x values less than negative 3. And what are we going to consider? We're going to consider our two factors, x plus 3 and x plus 1. And then, of course, their product, which is exactly what we're looking for, x squared plus 4x plus 3. So let's put that in. All right. Okay. So on the interval, when x is less than or equal to negative 3, our first factor is negative. And when x is between negative 3 and negative 1, it's positive. And when x is greater than negative 1, our factor x plus 3 is positive again. Now when x, for values of x less than or equal to negative 3, x plus 1 is negative. When x is between negative 3 and negative 1, x plus 1 is negative again. And when x is greater than negative 1, x plus 1 is positive. All right, so now we're going to take this and we're going to look at the product x plus 3 times x plus 1 and see what the sign is on each of these intervals. So x is less than negative 3, we get a positive value. When x is between negative 3 and negative 1, we get a negative value. And when x is greater than negative 1, we get a positive value again. So it looks like when our x values are less than or equal to negative 3 or greater than or equal to negative 1, our inequality is satisfied. So therefore, so let's write it here. So therefore, when x is less than or equal to negative 3, or x is greater than or equal to negative 1, x squared plus 4x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. Good. So this brings us to this actually is just the first question, my mistake. It doesn't bring us to the end of our session. Brings us to the end of our space. All right, let's go back up to the second question. X squared minus 6x minus 7 is less than or equal to 0. Let's use the same procedure. I did not leave a lot of space today. Okay, so let's do this one over here. Let's x squared. Let's try and remember what it is. Let's do it over here. B, we have x squared, I already forgot it, minus 6x minus 6x, is it minus 7 less than 0? Okay, let's check it again. Okay, my memory's not very good, is it? Okay, so we have it, x squared minus 6x minus 7 is less than or equal to 0. We need to find the x values, or the intervals. So let's start by factoring. We're going to consider the situation when it equals 0. So we have x's, what are the factors? A 7, 7, and 1. Good, and our cross term is negative 6x, so we placed our negative and positive in the appropriate places. Therefore, x equals 7 or negative 1. Let's take our number line and divide it up. And consider when x is greater than 7, x is between negative 1 and 7, and when x is less than negative 1, our two factors are x minus 7 and x plus 1, and then we're going to also consider their product. Okay, so let's take a look. So on the first, so if we look at the first factor, x minus 7 on the interval when x is less than 1, negative value. When x is between negative 1 and 7, again, negative value. When x is greater than 7, positive. Let's look at the factor x plus 1. When x is less than negative 1, negative. When x is between negative 1 and 7, positive. And when x is greater than 7, positive. Now we'll look at their product. When x is less than negative 1, we get a positive value. Between negative 1 and 7, negative, and greater than 7, positive. So therefore, when x is greater than or equal to negative 1 or less than or equal to 7, then x squared minus 6x minus 7 is less than or equal to 0. Good. All right, so that takes care of the second one. Now C, let's scroll over to the left and do it here. Let's pick another color, a little bit green. All right, so C. Let's write it out. Negative x squared less than negative 12x plus 36. Okay. So let's rearrange this so it looks like the form in part A or part B. So we want a 0 either on the left or right hand side of our inequality. I'm going to bring the negative x squared over to the right hand side. And the reason for this is now I have a positive coefficient in front of the x squared, and that's a little easier to work with. Okay. So the right hand side now, or inequality, becomes 0 is less than x squared minus 12x plus 36. So again, what do? We start with considering the equality and factoring. So this is a perfect square. And the factors as x minus 6 all squared. So therefore, x equals 6. So let's consider our number line. And 6 is our cutoff, or our point that divides our number line up. So we have x greater than 6 and x less than 6. So let's consider one factor. Actually, this is quite interesting. It's x minus 6. So it's negative when x is less than 6, positive when x is greater than 6. However, we're just looking at the square. So anything squared is positive. So therefore, for all x, our inequality is satisfied, or x element of the real numbers. That was a fun one. All right. Now let's look at part D, last one. X squared greater than, actually, let's go back. To part C, not all x, for all x. So let's have a look at our inequality is strict. So the only time this is not going to work is when x equals 6, because when x equals 6, this entire right-hand side equals 0. So for all x not equal to 6, then our inequality holds. All right. So that takes care of things. So almost all the real numbers. So let's not put that here. That's not quite true. Excellent. Good thing we caught that. Now last one, x squared greater than negative 2x plus 10. All right, let's find a spot to do this. I'm running out of space here. Okay, so how about over here? Let's pick another color, red. Purples are D is, let's go back, x squared greater than negative 2x plus 10. Let's just check. The memory's not so great today. Oh, I got it right this time. Okay, so again, I'm going to move some terms over to, I'm going to move all the terms over to one side of the inequality. I'm going to choose the left-hand side because then this gives us a positive coefficient in front of the x squared. So x squared plus 2x minus 10 is greater than 0. I think we can factor this. Can we? I don't think we can. We can't factor this nicely. So what I'm going to do so that we're not working too hard, I'm going to change this. Okay, you can't normally do this on a test or anything. So I'm going to change that to a 3. I think that will work out. All right, that will work out in our favor a bit better. So again, these exercises are just for illustration purposes. I don't think your teacher would appreciate it if you change the question on a test just because you can't work it out nicely. All right, so now our question is x squared is greater than negative 3x plus 10. Let's move everything over to one side of the inequality and let's see if I got the question right this time. So 10 factors is 5 and 2. We want our cross term to be 3x. So we're going to put positive and negative as such. So now we've factored x squared plus 3x minus 10 as x plus 5 times x minus 2, and this is greater than 0. So we're going to consider the x values negative 5 and 2 to divide up our number line. So we have x greater than 2, x between 2 and negative 5, and x less than negative 5. Let's consider our factors, x plus 5 and x minus 2, and then the product. And let's see what's happening on the interval. So for the factor x plus 5, we have negative plus plus. For the factor x minus 2, when x is less than negative 5, it's negative. When x is between negative 5 and 2, it's negative as well. And when x is less than 2, that's not right, greater than 2. Got the sign wrong there. Catching all the mistakes now. It's positive. Now the product of these two factors, when x is less than negative 5, the product is positive. When x is between negative 5 and 2, it's negative. And when x is greater than 2, it's positive. Now we want, what is our inequality? We want x squared plus 3x minus 10 to be greater than 0. So therefore, when it's strictly greater than 0, when x is less than negative 5, or x is greater than 3, then our inequality is satisfied. Excellent. Okay. That brings us to the end of our session. If you have any questions, feel free to send us an email at info@raisemymarks.com or give us a call day or evening, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.